Morning, everybody. How's it going on this beautiful day? I think it's supposed to rain a little bit later, but no big deal. All right, here's my question for you. What's the best thing going on in your life lately? If you want to leave that in the comments, let me know what's going on. Remember that a happy life, the first step to that is a thankful life. So if you can't think, well, man, what's the best thing? What are you most thankful for? And that all has to do with perspective. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe take a look at the video I did yesterday. So this morning, again, we're going to continue these live videos with a bunch on books. And the book that I actually read this morning, and it was a book I reread, and it's a book called Essentialism. And the cool thing about this book is this is the very first book I ever read on Blinkist. So in case this is the first video you're watching, Blinkist is a really cool app that lets me literally read a book a day. I can read or listen to a book in 15 minutes or less. And this is the very first book that I ever read. And this is actually how I found Blinkist. My wife, Heather Bunch, she was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about this app called Blinkist. She knows I love efficiency. So she's like, Bob, you really should check out this app called Blinkist. So I did. I checked it out. It looked really cool. Now, she also listened to a podcast around that same time that suggested this book called Essentialism. And she was like, okay, I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to get it because she likes to read a physical book. I know some people like Kindle. I'm kind of like that person. Some people like a physical book. That's cool too. One of my favorite things is audiobooks because I'm so busy doing stuff all the time. I like combinations of all three. She prefers physical books. So she's going to go to the library the very next day and go pick up the book, Essentialism. So I jump on the app and I'm like, I wonder if this book is in Blinkist. I look it up. There it is. It's there. That night before we go to bed, I listened to the entire book in 15 minutes. Now, she got the book the next day, read the book that next week. We had a conversation about it after she read it, and she could not have been able to tell that I did not pick up an actual copy of the book and read it. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm sold on Blinkist. Blinkist is awesome. I'm going to use this app. This is going to help me read more books because let's face it, readers are leaders. That's an old saying, but I think it's really true. So if I want to develop myself, if I read really good books, I think that's a good idea. So Blinkist, I was sold on that. So I reread the book this morning because it's a great read, and I thought there's some great things in here I'd like to share with all of you. So here's the basic idea of the book, is that we all have a lot of things in our life that are unimportant. We also have a few things in our life that are very important. Some people might also call that the Paredes principle, the 80-20 rule, that 20% of what you do in your life will actually produce 80% of your results. You can find that in nature, you can find that in business, you can find that in relationships. It kind of transcends all different categories. So the book builds a case as to why you should really focus on the essentials, which is what essentialism is. And at the basis of essentialism, it's really cutting out the things that are unessential or putting them in a different box and not wasting time on those, but investing time in the essential things. A really great case study that they give, and this is a great illustration that they give in the book. Let's say you could travel back in time. Let's say you had a time machine. You had a DeLorean out in your driveway. You go 88 miles per hour, and boom, now you're like, 30 years ago. You have an opportunity to invest in stock. What companies do you pick? Is it Apple? Is it IBM? What do you do? I mean, man, I got an amazing opportunity here. I can make lots of money. I can invest in something on the ground floor. Now, you might pick any of those. That's great. But do you know actually the one that we actually yield you the most results is actually the company Southwest Airlines. Now, when my wife and I, when we travel, we love to use Southwest. Southwest is really good at a couple things. See, there's a lot of airlines out there, and I'm not cutting down any airline here. They've all got a place. If Delta's your favorite, that's great. But this is for the sake of the illustration. But I think a lot of people would agree with me that they love Southwest, and it's for these reasons. They're really good at a few things. Southwest doesn't have first class. Southwest doesn't have assigned seats. Southwest is really good at doing one thing, and that's getting you from point A to point B very pleasantly. They don't charge extra for their bags. There's a lot of things they don't do. There was another airline that when they saw the model of what Southwest was doing, they tried to replicate it. But they made, and I think it was Continental, if I'm remembering right. If I'm not remembering right, go get the book. The story's in there. But that airline tried to come up with I think it was Continental Light, where they were going to have a model just like Southwest. Didn't work. See, they were still trying to do everything, and because they were trying to do everything, the cost difference between doing everything and trying to be minimalistic, it didn't work, and they had to kill the program. So Southwest is a great example of how if you get down to the basics and the essentials, it can really yield the results you're looking for. I am just as guilty as anybody else. Anybody that knows me, I try to do too much. When I create a to-do list, it's usually much longer than it really needs to be because I try to put everything down, and that's a good system, but there's the essentialism side of it is crucial to any kind of productivity. Okay, so there's some things that they share in the book that I think are great that I just want to pull out for you. Number one is take time alone. Take time alone. Some people think daydreaming and stuff is unproductive. However, if you look at some of the most successful people that have made some amazing things happen in this world, one of the examples they give is Einstein. They daydream. They daydream. So what you need is set aside time when only you and you alone have time to think creatively, put idea on paper or however you document that and do that. So in my life, the only time that I get uninterrupted time is I need to get up before our kids wake up. Heather and I, we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. One of the main reasons is because we would like to have time so that we can focus, we can study, we can work out, we can do various things. And it's before the kids wake up. Now, over time, the kids have gotten up a little bit earlier, and you know what's kind of cool about that? They actually see us doing these things, and we're setting an example for them. And I love that. But the point of me bringing that up is, you know what? You might think, well, I don't have any extra time. I don't have any extra time. You do, unless you found a way of getting more than 24 hours in a day. And if you have that secret, I would love to know it. If you could put that in the comments and let me know where you found that, because you'd be the only person in history that actually figured that one out. So we all have the exact same amount of time. It's how we prioritize. And again, that gets back to essentialism. Also, playfulness. It's proven through studies that when you are doing things that are recreational and playful, it's actually good for your creativity. It gets you out of a rut as far as your routine, and it actually will spawn new, fresh ideas and help you take a different view of things. That's why companies like Google, Pixar, Twitter, they do things where they'll have improv comedy classes. Google lets people bring their pets to work. They actually encourage it. I know Pixar and some of the other companies, they would bring huge dinosaurs. They would have dress-up parties. They would do all these various things. Star Wars figurines everywhere, right? May the 4th be with you. Various things to keep their creative juices flowing, and that can apply to all of us. One of my favorite things I ever heard is the word recreation. If you take it and you break it down, it's actually recreation. Recreation is recreation. You're recreating yourself. You're giving your body, you're giving your mind, you're giving yourself a break so that you can recharge your batteries and do the next thing that you're destined to do. Recreation is a good thing. It's a great thing. Also, just rest, sleep. This is huge. I did not realize this. I have gone through sleep depravity type of times in my life. I can see proof of this one. So anybody that's out there that you're burning the candle on both ends, I'm going to encourage you, reanalyze that. They can actually see, and they've run tests on people, where people have gone 24 hours without sleep, or they habitually have only 4 to 5 hours of sleep a day for weeks on end. They can liken it to the same type of sobriety of someone who has a 0.1 alcohol. blood tolerance. That's not really good. If you're driving, you're doing things that are important. You want to have, full awareness of what's going on. So, I mean, this is not rocket science, guys. It's a little bit of common sense, but there's an old saying, common sense isn't common. So it takes people like me, people like you, to share these things with our friends so that we can get recalibrated where we're supposed to go. Also, qualify. And this one I thought was fantastic. This one was great. Have some pre-qualified types of questions. And this is the example they give in the book, and I thought this was good. Let's say you're going through your wardrobe and you're trying to break down, trying to get rid of stuff. Most of us would be able to identify with this, where you're going in, you're trying to purge, and you come across something, you're like, I never wear that, but I don't want to get rid of it. I might wear it someday, so you keep it. That's one of the ways that people end up with closets full of clothes that they don't wear, and that's just not a essentialistic type of lifestyle that can actually bring you more joy when you have the essentials. So the example that they give is have some pre-qualifying type of questions. Let's say you've got this sweater that is just the ugliest thing in the world. It's got some crazy graphic on it, like a wolf howling at the moon or something like that. I mean, listen, if you have that and you wear that, I'm not trying to put you down. I'm just telling you from a style standpoint, you're not hitting it out of the park if that's something you wear, okay? But this is the example that they give when going through your wardrobe. Here's 3 questions. Is this stylish? Is this something I would wear every day? And will no one laugh at me if I'm wearing it? So whatever those 3 questions are, come up with 3 questions that are qualifiers, and you can use that to decide what's essential and what's not essential in various areas of your life. Also, be clear. The more clear you are, it's going to help you to identify what is essential in your life. So one thing that I teach people when I sit down with them, I have a course called How to Get People to Beg You About Your Business. This is one of the things that I do teach in that. And I got this from a great book, and I'll give you a link to this book in the notes of this post. And that is Hanging Out for a Living by Mark Herdering. That's a fantastic book. It will help you literally hang out for a living. I've got all kinds of great stories on that. That's not a book, unfortunately, on Blinkist, but I'll probably end up reviewing that book anyway for you guys because it is a fantastic book. One of the things that they teach in that book is that your ideal client, your ideal referral is not found. It's created. That person is created. The more specific you can get as far as what they look like, where they live, what life stage they are in, what profession they're a part of, and the list goes on and on and on and on. The more specific you get, it'll help you get your priorities in order as far as what is essential, as far as what you should be doing, and the things that are not essential, moving you towards that goal, whether it be an ideal client or a fitness goal or an educational goal or a family goal, whatever the case might be. Come up with the ideal circumstance for that. And that will help you focus in on what are the things that are going to move the ball down the field for this goal. So really what we're talking about here, this is just the art of deciding what's important versus what's unimportant. There's a great tool, and I'll put a link to this in this post as well. There's a great tool that I use that literally saves me 3 to 5 hours a week. How many people here have email? I'm sure everybody just about out there, especially if you're on Facebook watching a live video, probably has email. There's an amazing application. It's not an app on your phone. It's a website, and it's a service that you get set up. Very inexpensive. In fact, you can try it for 15 days for free with the link that I'm going to provide, but it's called SaneBox. This is what SaneBox does for me, and I love it. You see, I've got emails that are important, and I have emails that are unimportant. What SaneBox does, it uses these really cool robotic algorithms that I don't understand, but I also get to train this system along the way by just moving emails into folders. Very, very easy. Anybody could do that. But it will only leave my important emails in my inbox. All the other unimportant emails, I don't want to get rid of them completely and completely unsubscribe, but they're not like, all right, this is going to be important. I need to see this right away. It actually puts all of those into one email as a summary. I can see just a little description of each email, and with one click of a button, I can make them all go away, archive them, or do whatever. On average, I get about 200 emails a day. SaneBox makes it so I get 20 emails a day in my inbox, and I get one summary with the other 180 emails on average. Love SaneBox. Found out about that from Michael Hyatt. If you've never heard of Michael Hyatt, totally check out Michael Hyatt. Michael Hyatt, just like the hotel, michaelhyatt.com. Amazing videos, resources, podcasts. Well, he doesn't do podcasts anymore. He does a lot of Facebook Live and YouTube Live type of things. Great resources. Many of them are free that can really help you. He has a course that my wife and I have gone through called 5 Days to Your Best Year Ever. Fantastic video series. So there's a really cool, and I'm going to use this at the end of my videos from now on. There's a really cool acronym that I learned from John Maxwell. It's called ACT, A-C-T. And this is a great thing. Whenever you're reading a book or you're taking notes at a convention, you're at church, a seminar, whatever, you can use ACT as something to help you in taking action and prioritizing and what are the essential parts of what I'm supposed to do with this stuff. So A stands for apply. Here is something I need to apply to my life that I wasn't doing before. C stands for change. Okay, this is something I need to change in my life. I was doing this before, but I should change it to what this is. T stands for training or your tribe. Maybe you read something, you're like, okay, well, I'm doing this, this is great, or hey, I know this would really benefit someone else or this group of people. So I'm going to share with you my ACTs to hopefully, inspire you from the books that I read. So the A for this one that I need to apply is I'm going to start using, I wasn't using this before, I'm going to use the 3-question qualifying system. I have a challenge, and this is the thing that I'm going to go in and change. So these kind of go hand in hand. So the thing I'm going to apply is that 3-step challenge. Like I'm going to put 3 qualifiers for anything I decide to do that day. Many times, and I have a system where I kind of pair all of the things that come up on my to-do list because I've got it automated through a system called OmniFocus that I love, that I've used for years. I flag the things so that only those things will pop up. I usually come up with like a dozen of them. Now here's the horrible cycle. You come up with a dozen, you get 3, maybe 5 done. You've got other ones that are left over, and then you feel like a failure because you didn't get those things done. Not everyone's going to feel that way, but I know lots of people that are watching this video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That becomes a vicious cycle, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm not really moving the ball forward. So my goal is I'm going to use those 3 questions that I'm coming up with, and basically, I'll tell you what they are, is number 1 is what this task, is it part of one of my life accounts? And I'll go and explain what life accounts are later. They have to do with my priorities in life as far as who I want to be, in my relationships, my family, my kids, and what I want to do in life. Okay, so is it part of one of those accounts for fitness, for my spiritual growth, for my marriage, my kids, is it one of those? Because if it's not one of those, it's probably out. And by the way, it talks about in the book, it needs to meet at least 2 out of the 3. Okay. The other one is does this show love to my family? Does this show love to my family? It may not be the absolute most important thing on my list, but if doing the dishes is going to put a smile on my wife's face, I'm going to go do the dishes. So that's a great, you know what I mean? Like that's a good thing. Then the other thing is does this make me money? Many times people, especially in business, if you work for yourself like I do, you can get caught up in the things that are not essential, the things that are not money makers. They're important, but they're not essential. So getting to the things that actually produce income, that's going to help you in your priorities. So those are my 3 things, or my 2 things, my A and my C. I'm going to apply by doing the 3 questions. I'm going to change it by, instead of doing 12 things a day, I'm going to get down to 3 to 5. And then T for teaching, obviously that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing this with you. I'm sharing it with everyone through this Facebook Live video. One way that you can do this is you can apply the same A or a different A and the same C or a different C for apply and change. But for training, you can totally share this video. You can share it with someone that maybe needs to get down to the essentials. This literally saves me time to free me up to do more of the things I love to do, which is hang out with my family, build memories and adventures with my kids, take my wife out on date days, not just nights, date days, things like that. It actually frees up my time to do the real essential things. So maybe you know somebody that needs that. Share this video, tag them in it. Let's get the word out there. It's a great, great book. Definitely check out Essentialism. Also check out Hanging Out for a Living, another fantastic book. Check out Michael Hyatt at michaelhyatt.com. Great resources. That's something I talked about in this as well. And then also, if you've ever gotten an email from me, you'll know my signature line whenever I leave or whenever I sign off on an email, and that is this. So everybody, thanks a bunch. We'll see you next time.